Thank you. I now call on Alex Rowley to wind up for the Labour Party. Alex Rowley, you've got 4 minutes.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. In winding up, I think in terms of local government across Scotland, services being delivered by local government are impacting on people's lives every day of their lives. And that impact is very crucial, whether that is social services, whether that is education services. And I think it's important that we recognise the levels of pressure that local authorities are actually working under. So whilst the settlement and whilst, as the Cabinet Secretary says, the Local Government Association and others in the South may well say it's a better settlement than they have actually got, I think it would be going a bit far to say that local authority leaders across Scotland are satisfied with the funding that's come in. That's not to say that the settlement is not better than some parts of the country. But the fact is that local authorities are under massive pressure. If you look right across the country and you look at the level of pressure, for example, in terms of children being taken into care in local authorities, and my own constituency, Fife, there was a massive overspend last year with the number of children being put into care. And part of the way to tackle that, and the Cabinet Secretary said that last week in the answer that he gave me, is to look at new ways of working, is to look at early intervention, spending more money in the early years. And I would say to the Cabinet Secretary that my experience of local government is that councils right across Scotland want to work with the Scottish Government. They want to work in partnership and they want to work together. But I think the first... I'll continue, thanks. I think that the key point to make there, however, is that there has to be a recognition from both sides that this settlement still leaves local authorities in a really difficult position. Willie Rennie spoke about putting the case as a Fifer for Aberdeen, but if you take Fife Council, over the next 4 years, it's a £92 million budget gap that they face. That's not the Labour administration that says that. That's the Executive Director of Finance reporting to the Council. And that's the same in local authorities everywhere. So local authorities are working hard in order to try and balance the books and continue to provide services. And I think it's in that spirit that we need to recognise that this settlement is still a very tough settlement for councils, and there will be tough decisions that have to be taken. In terms of Cameron Buchanan and the point he makes about the council tax freeze, I think local authorities are saying that at some point you need to find a way forward, and COSLA have kicked off this review, this commission that's looking at how you finance local government, and I certainly, and Labour certainly, welcome that. There needs to be a discussion and a debate in terms of how we move forward and how do you finance local government. In terms of the council tax itself, if you look at achieving equality, then it really doesn't. It promotes inequality, because the gainers, Band H, £1,535 compared to Band A, £258. So those who have most have gained most, and those who have least have gained least. But at the same time, we have seen charges coming in for services in local government, and it's often the very poor and the very vulnerable in communities, the elderly, the housebound, who are actually having to pay those additional charges. So that's the type of picture that you're getting in local government. And some of these decisions that are being made by the government here are creating greater inequality. So in terms of winding up and concluding, what I would say is that I do hope that the Cabinet Secretary, while perhaps not agreeing to the amendment that's put here today, will work with local government across Scotland, will recognise that this is a very tough settlement and that there is going to be cuts in services right across Scotland, and every council, regardless of who is in control politically, he will work with them and recognise that and look for long-term solutions for the future of local government in Scotland, because not to do so would be to let the people of Scotland down.
I now call on John Tinney to round up the debate. Cabinet Secretary, you've got 4 minutes.
President Officer, it's not long since Mr Rowley joined the Scottish Parliament, and I don't want in any way to destroy his career at this early stage, but that was a refreshing contribution of some of the weight of experience that Mr Rowley brings to this Parliament from his leadership of Fife Council. And I think I hope he would acknowledge, and this is a point I would make in response to Mr Rennie, that in the 7 years that I have occupied, or nearly 7 years that I have occupied this post, with particular responsibility for the government's relationship with local government, one of my highest priorities has been to ensure that there was a better relationship between the Scottish Government and local authorities in Scotland than the one I inherited, because I completely accept Mr Rowley's point that we will only succeed in addressing the genuine and substantial financial challenges that we all face, not just local government, but we all face, if we have a cohesive and agreed agenda upon which we can maximise cooperation between all levels of government. And I reaffirm today in Parliament my determination and the determination of the Government to make sure that we work cooperatively and effectively with local government to agree those joint objectives.